Right, hello everyone, and welcome back to the daily update on my 1000 days challenge. This is day 434, so let's get things started. Right, so first and foremost, like I mentioned yesterday, I did drop further in terms of both my experimental and my main trading account setup. So both losses was triggered by Link pair itself. So bear in mind that Link right now is in the choppy kind of territory, something that I'm trying to filter in a more systematic manner. So even though visually I do see them as a choppy thing, but bearing in mind that because I'm using a trend following kind of strategy for main trading account setup, still continue to enter my trade setup, meaning because there's a systematic kind of approach, and I do see in terms of a potential catching a potential trend, which would definitely be a very good upside. Other than that, experimental trade up similarly triggered a stop loss. So right now, let's see how things goes. And yeah, so overall across the market, you see there's a very huge difference across. So let's just run through very briefly for S&P 500. So let's go through the chart itself. I think there'll be a much clearer or easier explanation in that sense. So sentiment is that there's definitely a decent sign in the sense that we actually close this in the sense of, but it's not without to say that we could also. And moving on, if you check in terms of the Nasdaq itself. So switching over to the Nasdaq, you can see the downward trend still very much persists. So taking into consideration of correlation between the Nasdaq and the S&P 500, perhaps the downward trend could still continue because there is this kind of correlation between them that they do tend to go up in tandem and go down in tandem, even though percentage-wise it could be different, but generally they are somewhat correlated in that sense. So some may lag over the others and stuff like that. All right, and yeah, and overall, ASHR is probably doing pretty well for the past 1 to 2 days. Yeah, we definitely have a very strong bounce and potentially closing even above the 200-day exponential moving average. So things looks to be good in terms of the short-term wise, but bearing in mind that the volume isn't exactly picking up. You look in terms of ASHR, but bearing in mind that that is a ETF and it tracks the China market more closely. So China stocks, the volume will be more critical than say if you look in terms of ASHR itself. All right, and finally for KWAM, like what I mentioned yesterday, potentially we could close above the 50 simple moving average, which is definitely a good sign, simply because we've been rejected 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, and this is the 4th time. So potentially if we do close above there, it'll be a good sign that we could resume towards the upward trend, or even consolidate over here, which would be a very good sign that we could resume towards the upside as well. And yeah, so finally for Bitcoin itself, we definitely have seen a nice, say the 4-hour chart. Let me just switch to it. All right, so over here you can see on the forward chart itself, what I'm waiting for is actually a confirmation or a nicer triangle consolidation or finding support of the 20 exponential moving average, similarly as what we've seen over here. So until that takes place itself, I'm definitely not entering in terms of long, simply because the risk to reward setup would not be as good and I'm not able to put a tight stop loss in that sense. So until that happens and support is being established, then I'll potentially look to enter a long based on price action with upside target near the 59K mark itself. Otherwise, that's more or less I have for you guys today, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.